From secret BBL in Dominican Republic to a seven-figure medical tourism business, I have Kyla Nicole here, the founder and CEO of Plastiques Official, to share with us her plastic surgery journey and how she has helped thousands globally go on their journey. Kyla, thank you so much for being here today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to jump into your story because it really is like somewhat of a Cinderella story. Like this one little thing you did for yourself turns into this huge global thing that you're doing for everybody else. And I doubt you saw that coming.
Okay, so I feel like if people knew me beforehand, everything I do is with a purpose. And I always did want to start this business. However, I'm the kind of person that I know that if I haven't done it, there's no way that anybody's ever going to trust me or be able to build trust. So that was actually my intention. Like, of course, I wanted to enhance myself, but it was to be able to like start this business. After the pandemic and my sports career, I was over it and it was just everything was just not normal. I was like, it's time to do something that I want to do. So I had already planned it out in my head how I wanted it to go, but I just didn't think it would become this big this fast.
Well, so let's start from the beginning. Where did you start? I know like that you started in the professional baseball realm, but our listeners don't know. So tell us like from the beginning, how did you get into this world to the point where you were like, okay, I'm about to start this whole global phenomenon?
Okay, so me even working in sports to the position that I ended up like working and at the end was crazy. So I initially started as an English teacher and then Dominican Republic Academies. I feel like a lot of people don't know that because
No.
yeah, I was teaching English and building trust with the players and the DR, obviously, like all the major league academies are there. And I worked for like 5 or 6 different teams in a span of like a year and a half. And with me working with them, I was noticing that obviously most of the players, they're not catching on to the English because it's just hard. You can't really teach it that way. But their contracts, a lot of them were complaining about their contracts. And in the DR, it's a very money hungry country. So I just remember listening to them complain about them not knowing where their money is. And then like the Major League Baseball representatives there telling them, oh, they can't be in control of their money because they're young, which I agree with that part as I became an agent. But I started as an English teacher. I met a woman and she was an agent and she was frequently coming down. She was a Black woman. And I was asking her to mentor me and she was like, no. And I kept bothering her. I started going to like all the Major League Baseball meetings because I knew I had to make connections. And then people started figuring out, hey, she's actually smart. You know,
Yeah.
looking like when you look a certain way and you look in sports, of course, people are going to have like this misconception about you. But I got really good. I've always been good at negotiating, but with the right mentors, I had 3. I'm so grateful for them. They like essentially trained me. They trained me and I learned the ropes. They let me in on contracts. And within a year and a half, I was able to hold my own contracts. And I worked for like 3 different agencies throughout my time. But obviously, the pandemic slowed down a lot of that. So I had to pivot. But people still don't know that I still have my certification. I'm still currently like, I'm an active agent technically. I still hold contracts, but I just don't take new contracts anymore. So after I did that, I obviously, Dominican Republic is home of like plastic surgery. So all the
Yeah.
moms and their girlfriends, everybody's getting surgery. And then they're asking me because they thought I had surgery at the time. I didn't. They're like, oh, can you help us? But I knew because I had like family that had done it. So I was like, I can't. But I liked doing that. I liked helping my favorite part about being an agent was helping the families. So
Mm.
as I was helping the women in the families, I was just like, you know what? If I ever had to do something that wasn't sports, I would be working in the beauty industry. And when I worked in the beauty industry, it was hard because obviously I'm young and people are mean and like they can be malicious. So everything that I had to figure out, I kind of figured it out on my own. And that's why I'm so open with stuff, because I don't like when people did that to me.
Hmm.
So my whole reason to start this business was obviously like I'm Black and people don't think that they're going to be treated equally overseas or like anywhere in the plastic surgery space. So I started just taking all the ideas of everything that I'd faced and anything that I thought people like just like anticipating needs for somebody. And I started to like format this business, which only had one service at first, and it was like helping people mold their bodies after surgery. I moved
So
into
were you living in the Dominican Republic when you were doing the agents and when you were an agent and when you were helping the families, were you still living in the Dominican Republic at
Yes,
that time?
I was.
Okay.
I was there, oh my gosh, for like almost 2 years. I was living there.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
But
That's
you were immersed in
hard.
there. So that's, I mean, one thing I love about you, and we'll talk about this throughout because your listener, she's helped me with my surgery. I'm having my surgery February 26th, and Kyla has helped me find my surgeon, my whole care team, my driver, my everything. I'm gonna be going by myself. My mom will be there for my just a few days before and a few days after my surgery, but I'm totally gonna be fine because Kyla helped me find everything. But like one thing that I think that is so cool about your service is how you know everybody and how you know everything like so well. So was that helpful for you being there for those 2 years?
Yeah, it was. And then that's like home as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very helpful. I'm very big on building relationships, but I'm also like such a selective person with who I build relationships with. And it absolutely helped because I know that people know how I operate and they know if I'm recommending something, that means that I really trust them. That means that I could not be there and it could function properly. So definitely being immersed helped. Living there helped even more because that's how you get to see what's really going on in places. I don't go as frequently anymore because I have built everything that needs to be like established there. But yes, it helps. And I think if you are building a business, you should be immersed wherever you're operating.
So when did you decide, like you had helped all these people get surgeries,
Mhm.
but when did you finally decide like, okay, I want to get one for myself?
Okay, so fun fact, my mom doesn't know this either. I was gonna do it when I was 18, and then I'm so glad I like talked myself out of it. It just was so accessible. It was so accessible
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, I'm in DR. I go here all this, like I could come back from a vacation, like, and it's like if you have a Dominican passport, because I have one, you their surgeries, they're paying like $2,000. So it's like,
You have a Dominican passport, you have like, the good surgeons and everything
yeah.
got it done. Why did you talk yourself out of it at 18?
Because when I thought about it, it was really crazy and it just didn't make sense. And I honestly had no it was just didn't make any sense. It didn't make sense to do. Then I was like, okay, I'm 21 now and I was living in DR 21. That's when I first started my sports career. I'm like, this would not be the thing to do starting a sports. You do not want this big butt like going to like they already are suspicious of you. Like, why would we do this? I'm like, okay, it doesn't make sense. And I was also like gonna pick some doctors at the time that were just not, no. So, okay, 21 passed. I'm like, okay, I'm 23. Let's do it. I'm like, that's still like young. Cause I'm like looking at myself and I'm like, I'm getting like a little bigger from 21. Not like big, but just like I'm filling out.
Yeah.
Then I turned 25 and I was like, yep, okay, this is it. I think I'm settled. So I was like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. It was like, I guess it was still considered like 2021 is like the pandemic still. So
Yeah.
I went, I went as soon as they opened surgeries back. I'm going. Like I went as soon as they opened it. It was so ridiculous because okay, I want to say, so my surgery was March 22nd. I went, they told me surgery's open again, March 3rd. Okay, I'm going
March 22nd, you were there.
there. And then I was just like looking around. I'm like, wow, it's a lot of people here. I knew I was gonna be okay, because I knew
Yeah.
everything. But yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. But that was by far the worst recovery ever. And it was the worst recovery because I had a drain and it was so painful and it just made me hate everything that was happening at the time. I was so miserable. I was so sad. I was going through a breakup too. So yeah.
Oh, so were you getting the surgery because you had a breakup or,
Oh,
well,
I told you
sort of?
I had this
That's right.
plan. We were just waiting
Because
on
you
the
were
border to
18.
open. Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's actually so it's funny because I can admit this like now because I've come to terms with it. That was the reason why he broke up with me.
Because you wanted to have surgery? Really? Was
And
he like just afraid because you were already so beautiful and then like with this look you were going to be even more beautiful? Like what?
no, I think it was more so okay, so it was like a lot of factors, but it was more so I think like the fear of something happening or the fear of me not
Oh,
knowing what it's gonna look like. And I just remember like being told that if I don't like it, then then I can't. I'm like, I don't care. I knew it was gonna look good. Like I had a nice body before, but yeah.
yeah.
So a very important part of that
Hold
message.
on. Did you say he said if I don't like it, then
Yeah, he was just like,
okay,
but
bye?
it's like if it's what did he say? He was like, if it's deformed or something, he was just like that was his preoccupation. And he wasn't even being like nasty about it. It was just more so like men just kind of think you do everything for them and you don't.
Right.
It's just not for you. It was for
That
me.
is so true. That's so true. My Carlos, my husband, he's like, you don't need, you still look good. I know. I'm still going to have this surgery.
It's
Your
not
butt,
for
it looks
you.
so good. I know. I'm going to have the surgery. I know. But,
Right?
I want it to look a certain way for me.
Exactly. And that's like, I'm like, oh, if they understood that, the world would be so much better. Yeah. So I was going through a breakup. Whatever. It was hard because I was getting like, when you're recovering, and I was staying at my aunt's house. So it's kind of just like, Dominicans are crazy. They're like, you want to drink? Like, come on, like we've both been through this before. Why are you
Yes.
asking that? Or I'm just laying in the bed, like bleeding, and I'm just looking at everybody having a good time. It was not a good recovery until I got home.
Yeah. So
Like,
your first surgery, you had liposuction BBL, right? And
that-
and you had your abs.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, let's
Talk
talk about
about
that.
that. We're gonna get to the better, but we have to talk about that first.
Yes. Okay. So I think I'm like world's biggest like supporter of not doing it. And it's because it is so awful because mine was done right. People are like, oh, maybe it wasn't done right. No, it was done right. It just didn't fit my body. So
Yeah.
I don't know why I wanted abs. I don't. But anyway, it ages
Yeah, girl, because I saw those pictures. You had real abs. You was
weird.
going to a fitness competition.
It was weird. Yeah. But the thing is, so now I actually know why I looked that way. So I had fibrosis early on, but it didn't start like poking through for me to see it that way until I started gaining weight, which is kind of like the opposite for people. Most people, when they lose weight, it's less skin that will like, you can see more. So you'll start to see the knots. But yeah, no, that was like the worst thing I could have ever done. It just does not go with my body. It doesn't go with a lot of people's bodies. And with the way she lipoed me, I would have been like just good without it.
Yeah.
So I hated it so much. People were like, I had no idea your stomach looked like this. I'm like, guys, I promise it looked like that on pictures. But when you would see it in person, it didn't look like that. So when I was showing doctors and consultations and they're just like, what is it? I'm like, look, take a picture. They're like, oh, okay. So I don't know. But yeah, so don't recommend it. Never would do
So
it.
how did so there's someone listening, watching, they don't know what fibrosis is. They've just heard about it.
Okay.
They're like, what is it? How does it form? It's very common though. Like
Yes.
it's more common than not.
To be honest, most people kind of have it. Especially if you've had two lipos because with each, so liposuction creates scar tissue. So everybody just has to come to terms with that. You're going to have some scar tissue. It's either going to show or it's not. If the surgeon lipos you too much, like sucks you dry, it will kind of start to show. So fibrosis is just scar tissue that's built up. It can come from poor aftercare. Some people just heal that way. So some people are like, how can I avoid it? It is ways to avoid it, but sometimes you just heal that way. But mine was caused from poor aftercare, for sure. And it was because I was building my connections, like me starting my business, and I'm letting people essentially like experiment on me. And I'm not thinking like, oh, well, you're a post-op spa. You know what you're doing. Like most of them do not. A lot of them don't. And I had a machine used on me too early. I had an endermology machine used on my stomach at 2 weeks post-op, and it moved the fluid around that hadn't been properly drained yet. Like I still was draining. And because my drain malfunctioned, another like recovery horror story, but I still had fluid. So they moved it around. For people that don't know what this is, it just looks like it's like a machine and it has like knots on it. It kind of looks like a massager, like a head massager. But she put it on my stomach and it moved the fluid around, and the fluid hadn't been drained. Like she didn't drain me after properly. So it stayed there. So it developed like hard knots, and it became like scar tissue under that. And it was actually painful because I could feel it when I sat down. So I was like, I gotta get this fixed. I tried manual treatments, got better. I tried swell spots, which is like a post-op care, like recovery tool for your bra. It helped, but I was 2 years post-op at that part.
Wow.
And yeah. So I went to home of the reconstructive surgery. I went to Columbia. I found a really, really good doctor who was confident she could take my case. I went through 15 doctors. I went
15?
I went through 15 doctors. People were
all
like,
in Colombia or?
Okay, so three were in DR.
Okay.
And the other ones were in Colombia. But
Wow.
yes, people were like, oh, post who you're looking at. I'm like, well, I could, but I know them because of Colombia. Like some of these doctors don't even have Instagram. So
Right.
I was doing my consultations, going through it, like my stomach is ugly. I gotta get fixed. So yeah. And then that was my only like fixation for the surgery, like fix my stomach. But then because my doctor is such like a body architect, she was like, I'm gonna like even you out everywhere. So she did. She fixed my fibrosis, which she tells me I'm the best case that she's ever done. She's like, it wasn't a hard case. She thought by my pictures when I sent them in initially, it would be worse.
Yeah.
But she corrected it. Like I say 100%. She's like, nothing's 100%. She corrected it. I cannot see it anymore. And it was just like the best decision I could have made to fix that, because now I don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
But I do want people to know that every time you do a surgery or any surgery that you do, it's always going to be something you want to fix. And you have to put a limit on yourself.
Yeah.
You have to know that you're not ever going to be symmetrical. You might get stretch marks somewhere, because that's what happened to me. My breast augmentation is really not even bad, but I've never seen anybody out of all my clients. I'm like, why would this happen to me? So I just have they're just like two little ones like on each side, but I can scar camouflage it. They're going to be things you want to fix. So you have to decide if it's worth like accepting, or if it's worth, okay, this is like a minor thing that can be done to fix it, or okay, no more surgery. Like you have to put a limit on yourself, because once you enter the cosmetic surgery world, it's like opening up Pandora's box. You're always going to find something you can fix, and don't let you have the money to fix it. That's why people I'm serious, that's how people start looking like very, very like, different.
Unnatural. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, put a limit on yourself. but I don't regret any of my surgeries except for the ab etching. I never do that. But I just am happy that I've gotten to a point where now my focus is I want to help other people get to
Yeah.
relate. Because I know how that feels when you are so happy and when you put clothes on, and it's like restoring people's confidence. That's what it is. And nothing beats that. And if you happen to get paid for it in the nighttime, that's fine. But it's just like I never feel like I'm working. I might be tired, but I'd rather be tired from talking to a surgeon in like South Korea than talking to somebody who is not trying to give any of my players the money that we know they deserve, and
Right.
having to navigate as like a woman of color in the space of sports, which is not
Yeah.
welcoming. So I am just so grateful that I've been able to build what I've been building and making the connections that I've made. And I don't know, it's just so much, it's so much more that this industry can be. So I'm really happy to be a part of it.
So how could someone like, what is your ideal client that you work with? Like, what are they looking for and why would they be best working with you? I mean, I know why, because I'm your
Well, okay.
ideal.
So
But like they're listening, so I want them to know like everything that you do and like what you offer, and because I think that all of your experiences is why, like for example, like me, I'm very busy, so just knowing that I can tell you, and ask you like, hey, am I going to be in the hospital the night before? That was something that
yeah.
just popped in my head out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I know that I want to be able to eat well, so hey, am I going to be able to get a chef? It's like, so there's so many things that you do. And I think that if I didn't know that your services would existed, it would have hindered me from going to Colombia to have my surgery. I probably would have looked at Costa Rica. Doesn't mean that would have been ideal for the look that I'm going for,
Right.
but maybe I would have done that because it's more like convenient, because I didn't know that something like someone like you exists that can take me to the country that will give me the look I want and have all the services I need.
Yeah. Okay, so my ideal client is one. Okay, so it's really important that I work with somebody that is willing to listen. Because when I first started, I had a lot of people booking me that they were doing the opposite of everything that was told to them. And I was just like, is something wrong with me? Like maybe I wasn't like firm enough. But a listener, somebody that's very open, and then also to know that it's so much, I want you to understand that it's deeper than just a surgery, because when people work with me, especially this past year, we're transforming everything. And I don't mean like we're getting more procedures. Like, no, I have gotten done working with people and I feel like I'm talking to a completely different person because they had such a mental shift, because I pour so much into my clients. So I need somebody that's like receptive of that. I pour a
Okay.
lot because I bond with all of my clients. It's so crazy. I want them to, okay, like you're gonna get this surgery. Now what? Kyla, what about clothes? Like, okay, like I'm gonna start making like a clothing list for all of my clients now after I get to know, like, to see their personal style. It's just, I like people that are open. Like, let's transform. Let's do
Yeah.
everything all at once. Like when you're done working with me, I want you to feel like that was the best money I ever spent.
Right.
Oh, that's how like I want my ideal client to receive me, but also somebody that I like clients that have this thought in their head. They're like, it's so scary to go overseas, or oh, it's scary to do this. And I'm just like, okay, it's okay. I'm not gonna pressure you, but I'm gonna send you some pictures. You
Yeah.
want those results? Okay. Okay. Okay, Kyla, maybe I can do it. Oh, it's not scary. I'm like, trust me on this. It'll be fine. They go over there. I want to go to Colombia at least twice a year. Oh, yes. So I like people that are open-minded. So my ideal client is open-minded and also not afraid to invest in themselves, because I kind of I will admit I have an influence on people where, like, I start, if I do something, they're going to start wanting to do it too. And all of a sudden, we're all on this like $1,300 skincare, or now all of a sudden, we're all like just buying these things that we don't need. So I like clients that I like to think of, they all essentially become a reflection of some part of me. So it's been really, really, really nice.
So what would you say to the person that is like, one thing that I love about your clients is that maybe they all look different in their different ways and have different characteristics, but they're all gorgeous. And it's like, I kind of just want to be a client so I could be a part of the pretty girl club.
Oh my
Good. You know,
God.
like they're all just so gorgeous. But maybe I will say, because like when I first knew I was going to start working with you, I was just having my baby. I just wasn't, I definitely feel better now, but like there's the person there that feels completely opposite. And I feel like going through the process with you, they have those characteristics, but it's even like the glow after, like the before and afters that you do show, because you know how sometimes the enemies be anonymous, but the ones that you do show, even if they're beautiful, there's like this glow after that person that's like on the fence and just a little nervous.
Yes. So for people that are nervous, I always tell people, and I keep seeing this quote like every week. So I'm like, I think this is like my new mantra, but it's like, you can't, oh my gosh, I always word it wrong, but it's basically like, you have to start, you can't get to where you're going if you're in a parked car. Like you have to like start driving and figure it out as you go. So when people are nervous, I'm like, listen, I promise, please just trust me. We're going to do this. I have never had anybody not feel completely different after working with me, because you said it. And the fact that you say that you can see a difference, even if they were already beautiful, it's just like, wow. Now it's because when you're working with, this is like an intimate thing you're working with somebody to do. So when you're working and you have somebody like you have to believe in yourself too. Like I encourage people, and then they start believing it, it completely transforms you. So for anybody that's afraid to have surgery or do anything that's gonna like better themselves, you have to start somewhere. Even if it's not surgery, while you're saving, if you want to do it and you don't have the money to, start doing something. Find one product that makes you feel good. Find one class, find one book, audiobook, start doing something. Like it starts with one thing, because it's a snowball effect. Once you start doing stuff for yourself, it's addicting, because nobody's going to make you feel better than you are. So then when you start taking care of yourself, that's when people like start everything that you want gravitates towards you. And that's why that's where the glow comes from with people. So
that is true.
Yeah.
I love advice.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will tell you guys, like I am literally getting my teeth done. I'm doing tummy tuck, lipo, BBL, body type, scar treatment. I'm going to be asking about the treatments I can get for like my underarm, like discoloration. And I love the fact that like services like this exist, because before it was always so hidden. Like people were getting it done, but there was like gatekeeping happening,
I hate that. I hate that.
And I love how you always, so if you are curious about Kyla and more about her services and what she does all over the world, I mean, you heard her speak about DR, Colombia, South Korea. I mean, her services are endless. She's global. In the caption of this video, you're going to be able to see a link to her website, a link to her Instagram. Make sure that you check her out. But I just think that it's so important that people know that these services like exist, because I wouldn't have found the surgeon on my own. I would have never found her. Like I wouldn't have, but the more I'm looking at her, and even my friend from Colombia, she was like, girl, send me this surgeon. I have to look. And then she was like, girl, like she's really good. So like she's from there. So she was like, wait, hold on. Like, how do I know? And she looked and she was like, I just think it's so important that people know that stuff like this even exists. So I
Yes.
really appreciate you creating this business and just helping so many people become the best version of themselves.
Thank you. And thank you for choosing me to work with, because a lot of people are trying to start doing it now, but I know nobody will ever be me. And everybody, I don't ever worry. Like I don't. That's why people are like, oh, you're so open. Because those kind of things don't bother me. Everybody has a lane and so you can't drive in two lanes at once. So nobody's gonna ever be able to be you and you can't ever be them. So, I mean, if you want to help other people feel good, go do that, because I'm one person and it's a billion people, so many people in this world. Like I can't touch everybody. So
Exactly.
yeah,
But I definitely agree that some people should stay in their lane.
yeah. Yeah.
Because, we're trying to create like beautiful transformations, not
Yes.
bad experiences. And that's what one thing that I love about your business and what you're building and what you're continuing to build is the quality. And it's not, one thing I want the listeners to understand too, is that it's not cheap. Like it's not inexpensive. It costs a good amount of money. I mean, I'm pretty sure my investment in myself is going to be about 40 grand with everything, but it's going to be 1000% worth it, because I know I already starting to feel that glow the closer I get to surgery. Like I'm starting to feel like, and even my mom, she's like, you're going to look so good.
Yeah. And I'm glad you have that around you, because people, and this is like, I was never bothered by this, people telling me not to do something. Just like, I'm a Scorpio. I've been like this my whole life. Like I do what I want when I want, and nobody else can tell me anything differently. But yeah, people, once you have like that external support, I don't like the external validation, but the support,
Yeah, I like that.
it helps a lot, because you're just like, ooh, and then you have somebody that's excited to see that you're bettering yourself. Like that's very important to
And I
have.
will say one thing about you, Kyla, is that you're always bringing something new to your services, something more exciting, more partnerships. And so I love this. And I love about one reason I chose YouTube is because it's an evergreen platform. So someone's going to see this that is like, oh my gosh, like they're probably already using your services or using the services that you invented 5 years from now, because they know that you're never going to stop.
Yes, I wish I could turn my brain off. It gets very overwhelming up here.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And if you are considering any type of medical tourism, make sure you check out Kyla Nicole. All of her platforms will be in the captions. If you know anyone going on their surgery journey, please send them to Pop Podcast. They can hear these amazing stories to encourage them to invest in themselves, be them best selves. And we'll see you on the next episode.